What's up guys, back with another train log in Q&A. Good week, bench was great, some fatigue on squats and deadlifts still from the week prior, especially my glutes which are used hard on both lifts. But I'm trending better, so no need to overcorrect. It's a common issue I see when people have an issue, they end up overcorrecting. So in this case, instead of letting myself catch up on fatigue slowly, which I'm doing already, I would overly deload and just detrain more. Now that fatigue brings me to a good comment I got last week about squatting and deadlifting on the same day. So let's start the Q&A portion of this video, comment more questions you have below. So squats and deadlifts on the same day. I think there's a time and place for both, but I err towards not doing them on the same day. Now I know people like squatting and deadlifting on the same day in powerlifting for specificity, doing SBD days even where you do all three lifts just like in competition. I used to do this myself. In fact, I went so far as to always deadlift after I squatted. And so did I get better at deadlifting meets because I was used to the fatigue of squatting? No, my deadlift tanked relative to my squats because I was always pre-fatigued. There's evidence being fatigued before workouts impairs results. This study looked at exercise order and found worse strength and hypertrophy results for later exercises, even if they work different muscles. And this one found how being under-recovered before workouts impairs results as well. All references linked below as usual. So to me, the better option anyways for squats and deadlifts is to split them up so each can be trained fresher. In fact, sometimes I'll order days with squats and deadlifts based on which I want to emphasize. And as for the specificity of the meet and being able to handle doing both in one day, I think that's more going to come down to general physical preparedness, having a decent baseline level of fitness and work capacity. This is going to help with the fatigue of squatting first. I'm not sure how much the specificity of actually having the squat first trains the tissues any differently. If you need to gauge numbers into a meet, I think you can still do 1 or 2 SBD days before powerlifting meet in your prep to get an idea. Now, while that has me going against normal reasons people squat and deadlift on the same day, I do think it makes more sense scheduling-wise for people if they can only train 2 or 3 days per week. I'm probably going to recommend at least 1 day of squats and deadlifts on the same day. I think basically every lifter should be squatting at least twice per week, and only the most workload sensitive lifters will have them do deadlifts once per week. Usually I find even if you have somebody who is on the sensitive side with workload, make the other day a light one or an easier variation like block pulls and they can handle it just fine. So to get the skill practice and exposure to these movements at least twice a week on a tight schedule, we'd have to do some on the same day. We can still have days where each is emphasized. My client Kenny's program is set like this and it works great. He's the favorite to win his class at the next Canadian Championships where I am also competing. So that's my thoughts on squatting and deadlifting on the same day. Better to space it out if you can. If you're limited schedule wise though, I do think it can be a useful tool. Now real quick, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, again Tasty Gains. On to my second container of their creatine gummies now. Really recommend this flavor. Much easier to take than normal creatine, no gritty taste. These actually taste good. They're tested by third parties, so no contaminants, and verifying the actual serving sizes they claim, really helping me as I bulk and fill up my weight class, 255.6 pounds a day and counting. You can click the Amazon link down below in the description and pin comment to use them. Again, thanks to Tasty Gains. Now on to the next question, thoughts on forearm training for deadlift grip. So something to keep in mind is the muscles that flex the wrist are not the same as the ones that flex the fingers, and thus contribute to our grip. While both muscle bellies are in the forearm, it's 2 different movements to train here. Doing finger curls for hypertrophy-based grip work is fine, and just static holds with a bar on deadlifts for grip is what I recommend. I know people like fat grips or similar things to work on grip strength, but keep in mind that strength is joint angle specific, so you get better results for your deadlift grip working the actual normal bar circumference. Next question, recommended bulking foods. So something to keep in mind with foods for both bulking and cutting is how easy they are to eat. Foods that are easier to eat make it easier to get more calories, and foods that take longer to eat will restrict calories naturally. For example, it's easier to spoon your mouth full of ground meat than it would be eating a whole steak and having to cut each piece off slowly. And there are studies comparing similar concepts to this. For example, having people drink apple juice from a cup versus with a spoon and bowl like soup, or eating whole apples versus it matched up into an applesauce-like texture. People consume more calories before feeling satiated with the easier to eat options. So keep that in mind both ways when designing diets. Foods that are easier to eat when you're bulking, foods that take a bit longer to eat when you're cutting. I'll link below to a more in-depth podcast on the subject where I learned this. I'll link it below with the timestamp. Next question, how to better control the pause on bench. Long pause bench is a good variation as a spaldle press. These both force you to control the bar right near your chest. As for cues, make sure you keep your arch tight. Don't let it collapse when you touch your chest. Push constantly with your legs. Also, roll the bar down to you with an elbow-led motion, and don't let the elbows rotate relative to the bar on the chest. This will help to control it, and try to move the elbows, forearms, hand, and bar as one solid unit. Anyways, that's it for the video, guys. See the pinned comment in the description for where to contact me for coaching. Please like, comment more questions you have below, and subscribe if you haven't already. And once again, thanks for watching.